all symbolism. These people are symbolism absolutely obsessed. But as I was saying, over the years, I've come across people who've had dealings with the Knights of Malta, people who've been offered jobs with them, financial people, and they have been shocked, because they didn't realize at that time, that the Knights of Malta said they ran the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. Because one guy I knew in finance in America, he was offered a job with them. And it was kind of understandable why, because he didn't know at the time, but his father had been involved in the CIA most of his life. And when he said to them the question, how can you offer me a job with the Knights of Malta? You're a secret society. They said, as I just indicated, we run it. It's like they're subcontracted by the cabal to run it, the International Monetary Fund.
Malta are more than a global group of humanitarians. They're an independent army bent on world domination. Here's where it gets crazy. Part of that is true, to an extent. The order is considered an independent subject of international law, meaning it is a quasi-independent sovereign entity, with some of the international rights given to actual countries. Yet the order itself is not a state. It holds no territory, and its members are citizens of countries across the globe. Being a Catholic organization, the order still holds allegiance to the Vatican and the Pope, and their unusual legal status does not in itself indicate a conspiracy.
H.W. Bush, George Walker Bush, William Casey, Francis Spellman, Terence Cook, Archbishop of New York, Edward Egan, William Joseph Donovan, the founder of the CIA, John Farrell, Pat Buchanan, James Yussus Angleton, Charles Joseph Bonaparte, General Alexander Haig, Heinrich Himmler, started the SS in Nazi Germany. Heinrich Himmler. Hitler's right-hand man. Knights of Malta. As we can see, there are prominent men who are Knights of Malta, and as we have seen, they have great wealth and power and pretty much control everything. They control all the media, both print and broadcast. They control all religions and political scenes, as well as controlling all the money. The Knights of Malta is, in other words, another name for the Crown Templars. The Grand Council and Sovereign Military Order of Malta had headquarters in Rome. These Knights of the Papal Caesar control the banking, industry, and military complexes of the world. They oversee Chase Manhattan Bank with branches in Moscow and New York. They rule the international intelligence community, the KGB in the East, and the CIA in the West. This is the most compelling evidence so far as to who is involved in the events going on at the moment. Just in case you have not yet connected the dots, Chase Manhattan Bank was a Rockefeller bank and merged with J.P. Morgan to form J.P. Morgan and Chase. In the most recent edition of Forbes magazine, J.P. Morgan was listed as the wealthiest company in the world. So not only does the Vatican control the world's wealth, they also control all the intelligence networks throughout the world. The Holy Catholic Inquisition that claimed the lives of over 60 million people is the forerunner of what has become the modern-day intelligence community. In fact, Jesuit headquarters is in the same building as the Inquisition. In order for you to understand how the Vatican has been controlling world affairs for over 2,000 years behind the guise of fake governments, be they dictatorial, democratic, or communist, it doesn't matter. It is important that you know who some of the members of the Knights of Malta and St. John are.
The world can therefore seize this opportunity to fulfill the long-held promise of a new world order. We can find meaning and reward by serving some higher purpose than ourselves. A shining purpose, the illumination of 1,000 points of light. What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind. About the new world taking shape around us, about the prospects for a new world order now within our reach. In the coming weeks, I'll be talking in some detail about the possibility of a new world order emerging after the Cold War. But today, I want to discuss another aspect of that order. You see, as the Cold War drew to an end, we saw the possibilities of a new order in which nations work together. It refers to new ways of working with other nations to deter aggression and to achieve stability. As old threats recede, new threats emerge. The quest for the new world order is in part a challenge to keep the dangers of disorder at bay. We must build on...
formerly called Blackwater, in which that executive describes a nearly global enterprise shot through with criminality, arms dealing, fraud, tax evasion, child prostitution, murder, all of which Z denies even in cases where its employees have already pleaded guilty. One motive for all this, the four-year executive claims, was greed. Tonight, in our third story, the other motive was God. Jeremy Scahill, who first broke this story for The Nation magazine, wrote the definitive book on Blackwater in which he details some of the theocratic connections of founder Eric Prince. Now that former Blackwater executive, known only as John Doe No. 2, claims that Prince did more than subscribe to a fundamentalist Christian ideology. He used Z to advance it. Quote, Mr. Prince is motivated to engage in misconduct by two factors. First, he views himself as a Christian crusader, tasked with eliminating Muslims and the Islamic faith from the globe. To that end, Mr. Prince intentionally deployed to Iraq certain men who shared his vision of Christian supremacy, knowing and wanting these men to take every available opportunity to murder Iraqis. Many of these men used call signs.
Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Seymour Hersh, who exposed the My Lai massacre and the White House's infamous assassination squad. On January 17, 2011, Hersh mentioned the Knights of Malta in a speech to the Georgetown University campus in Doha, Qatar. Hersh alleged that a large percentage of the Special Operations Command and the Joint Special Operations Command in the United States are either members of or supporters of the Knights of Malta. Hersh went on to state that order members and supporters saw their mission against Islamic fundamentalism as a crusade. Members of the order have also been influential members of government or intelligence agencies.
Every time any church gets control of government, the people suffer. It has always happened. That's why our founding fathers established a country where that was not supposed to happen, where everybody was free to worship at the altar of their choice. And if you think they were all of one mind, you better think again. How many religions of the Protestant group do you think existed in this country when our founding fathers put together the Constitution? Over 1,500 different groups, all claiming they were right, teaching a different dogma, quoting scripture to justify what they said, and everybody else was going to hell. So don't give me this Christian nation bullshit, because that's what it is. This nation reflected Christian values because the people who made up the government in the early days were Christian.